Your inner voice may be whispering to you, but when you listen, you'll see. It can't silence the scream of your soul. Ibn Arabi says, "This fatigue is not ordinary fatigue. It is the heart's cry from the depths." Now, in this video, you will hear that deep voice. You will see the sign that God sends to your inner world. Like the prophet's words, "The address of peace is your Lord." Ibn Arabi has a concise interpretation. Your soul feels as if it is about to break, but in reality, God is waking you up. That moment of awakening is the first spark of a new beginning. When I explain the 7 divine signs you will see in this video, you will realize that the emptiness you feel is missing is actually a passage directing you to your Lord. Whenever you feel tired, exhausted, perhaps helpless, this feeling could be a warning from God. Your destiny is being rewritten, and you are in that process without even realizing it. A glimpse of sleep, a moment of inner distress, perhaps just your mind pausing at a breaking point, are all actually the beginning of divine profundity. And remember what I will tell you as the video progresses. This fatigue is not merely temporary. It is a purification process that prepares you for your strongest self. Ibn Arabi's inner. We will feel this pulse through profound expressions that describe the suffering, patience, and ultimately peace that emerge during the journey. Get ready now, because with each story, we distance your heart a little further from the world and draw you closer to your Lord. Finally, the most valuable point I will share with you will touch not only your mind, but also your soul. According to Ibn Arabi, the signs God sends to his servants may seem like seemingly small events, but they actually open great doors deep within the soul, especially when a woman is granted a great blessing. Everything she encounters in her life transforms into divine language. At this point, fatigue, inner restlessness, and even seemingly meaningless coincidences are traces of a path God is guiding you on. These signs that precede great blessings are jarring, because God is taking you out of your current state and preparing you for a different truth. Ibn Arabi says, "Servants only understand the magnitude of the blessing they have been given when they are tested." In other words, the difficulties or unexpected events you experience during this process actually make you feel the magnificence of what is to come. A woman's heart begins to awaken with these signs. First, his attachment to the world weakens. The things around him suddenly seem temporary and worthless. Then a sense of stillness and silence comes. This is the presence of God descending into his heart. And at that very moment, a change begins, invisible to the eye but felt spiritually. One of these signs is that you begin to pay attention to the small details in your life. Perhaps a seemingly chance encounter, perhaps a dream whose meaning you don't understand, perhaps simply a feeling that strikes your heart. All of these are messages preparing you for a great blessing. Ibn Arabi describes this process as a door of preparation. In other words, before God opens that door for you, he prepares you to pass through it. This preparation sometimes requires a breaking of the soul, sometimes a shaking of the ego, and sometimes a testing of your patience. But remember, every step along this path brings you closer to him. And now we come to the main point. Each of these signs prepares you for a great blessing from God. In the next section, we will discuss how these signs appear in your life and how you should recognize them. According to Ibn Arabi, divine blessings do not arise in a vacuum. They emerge under the shadow of a spiritual preparation and signs. These signs resonate in a woman's heart and draw her toward truth. The first 3 signs are often overlooked because they are difficult to detect in the chaos of daily life. but they speak silently. The first sign is a profound sense of loneliness. This loneliness is not a withdrawal from people, but a withdrawal into oneself. Conversations seem meaningless. Even among crowds, you feel like a stranger. This is the moment when God calls you to an inner depth. Ibn Arabi says, "When the heart begins to hear God, it cannot hear any other sound." At that moment, it begins not with detachment from the world, but with drawing closer to the truth. The second sign, obscure but constantly recurring symbols in your life. Seeing an ant, frequently noticing the same number, hearing similar words from different people. Don't consider any of these as coincidences. According to Ibn Arabi, symbols are the visible clothing of truth. God uses the language of the universe to capture his servant's attention. If you learn this language, you will begin to understand what your life is trying to tell you. The third sign is inner restlessness. Everything seems to be going well, but something is missing. Your soul seems to be waiting on the brink of something, but you don't know what it is. This restlessness is a sign that God is preparing to transition you from one state to another. The change has begun, but it hasn't yet taken shape. This transition is a fire that molds the soul, and you cannot smell the truth without burning in this fire. Ibn Arabi describes these three signs as the silent call of monotheism. In other words, God is calling you, but this call comes not from outside, but from within your heart. And if you respond to this call, the remaining signs will unfold one by one. According to Ibn Arabi, divine grace is a silent river drawn by destiny. You can't see it, but you flow with it. The previous three signs prepare you for this flow. Now let's examine the remaining four signs so you can sense in your heart when and how that great change is approaching. The fourth sign, the necessity of saying goodbye to the old. Some things in your life are unintentionally broken. Some relationships are severed. Some paths are closed. You may perceive this as a difficulty or a loss, but according to Ibn Arabi, when God grants a new blessing to his servant, he closes old doors so that your heart can be emptied and make room for the new. You cannot bear the divine without cleansing your soul of its burdens. Therefore, losses are sometimes a blessing. The fifth sign, an unexpected feeling of trust in God. When everything is chaotic and your logic resists, a calmness arises within you. You begin to say, "Whatever happens, will happen." This submission is not forced, but a calmness that comes from within. This state is a sign that God has breathed safety into your heart. Ibn Arabi calls this the heart's silent secret, because it has begun to listen to the truth, not to external noise. 6 signs. A direction or goal that becomes clear in your mind. For a long time, you don't know where to go or what to do, but one morning, you wake up, and a voice inside you whispers a direction. No one understands, but you do. Now I must follow this path. This decision is not external, but internal. According to Ibn Arabi, this is the moment destiny begins to call you. As grace approaches, God aligns your footprints with the line of destiny. And the 7th sign. An occasion, a person, a sentence, a coincidence. The final sign is usually something concrete, a sentence you read in a book, a word from someone you don't know, or a face you see in a dream. This sign signifies that the process has been completed and you are now on the threshold of grace. Ibn Arabi calls this the mask of truth's manifestation, because God sometimes reveals himself as the greatest truth in the most ordinary moments. These 4 signs are the letters of an ancient and silent language. If you know how to read it, you can understand what God is trying to tell you. And when that moment comes, you will no longer be the same person you were before. Because grace isn't just giving you something, it's transforming you into someone completely different. This sign is now complete. From Ibn Arabi's perspective, these signs are like secrets whispered into your heart to make the invisible visible. Each sign isn't just an event, but a harbinger of a spiritual transformation process. And now, when they all come together, a great blessing has arrived at the door of your being. This blessing may not be something external. Sometimes God gives you an object, a possibility, or an opportunity. But more importantly, He transforms you into a different state. As Ibn Arabi said, when God gives something to His servant, He actually makes them worthy of that thing. In other words, your inner world is adapted to it before receiving the blessing. Grace isn't simply given, it first arises within you. But what happens next? These 7 signs don't leave you at a crossroads. On the contrary, it guides you on a new path, because every blessing is a new responsibility. Now your eyes see more deeply, your heart hears more sensitively, because you have a trust. And this trust should be carried not only with gratitude, but also with awareness. According to Ibn Arabi, a person who receives divine grace no longer lives solely for themselves. That person also carries peace and meaning to their surroundings, because what God gives transforms not only the space they occupy, but everyone they touch. Therefore, this blessing is not a result, it is a higher beginning. And you are on the threshold of this beginning. Perhaps this video itself was a sign for you. Perhaps the answer to that question you've been carrying in your head for years was hidden here. Perhaps those strange feelings you've been experiencing for a while were the precursors to these signs. And now they've all come together. But remember, every sign is a letter that must be read. If you know how to see, God speaks to you at every moment, because even in that silence, He hears you and guides you. Ibn Arabi said, when a servant recognizes the signs from his Lord, he can no longer live as before, because that sign awakens something within him. Now when you hear these 7 signs, perhaps some scenes from your own life flash before your eyes. Perhaps an event, a dream, a feeling all come together to tell you, you are ready. There's a knock on the door. Grace is on its way. But the greatest secret you need to know at this point is this: divine grace isn't just for you. It overflows from you and reaches others. When God bestows a great blessing upon one of His servants, it carries that grace to those around them. In other words, you are not only the recipient of this blessing, but also its bearer. Therefore, you have 2 paths: to keep this grace within yourself and live it silently, or to radiate it like light. Ibn Arabi says that signs don't disappear when they go unnoticed, but rather return in a greater form. Therefore, the signs you see today are actually a call. Responding to them takes you to the next level. This is the real secret we promised you at the beginning of the video. Grace isn't just given, it's prepared. And everything you experienced was part of this preparation. Now think about what moment in your life made you think, this was a sign. Have you ever considered it? Perhaps God has already placed a sign in your life, but you haven't noticed it. I want you to share it with us in the comments. Your story might be a sign for someone else. And before you go, don't leave this journey here. Click on the video that's playing now. There, you'll discover a much deeper secret that Ibn Arabi spoke about grace and signs. There's also content waiting for you in our Divine Signs and Spiritual Transformation playlist. We'll delve deeper into this conversation there. Remember, God never sends his signs in vain, and maybe this video itself was a sign for you. Yeah?